For decades, since video games first became popular, the mainstream media and many politicians have been saying that video games are addicting and breed crime. Even some religious groups have come out and said that video games were the work of the devil himself. Because when I think of the devil, all I can see is that demon blue shelling me in Mario Kart. In this video, I will be exploring gaming addiction, if it is real or not, and if it is real, is it as big of a problem as the mainstream media is making it out to be. So, let us start with, what is gaming addiction? Well, the specialists that the media bring on describe it as a compulsive and uncontrolled use of video games in a way that cause problems in other area of the person's life. And of course, different specialists will have slightly different definitions, but they are all very similar to this one. The main problem with this definition is how vague it is. While most scientific descriptions are to the point and straightforward, this description leaves many questions, such as how long they play for, what time of day they play, if they ignore their health or just chores, and those are just some problems that I, a mere high schooler, can see with this general definition of gaming addiction. Now that we got the definition of gaming addiction out of the way, let's go into some facts. So, many news sources will usually state that gaming leads to increased aggression and antisocial behaviors. However, newer research shows that people with aggression and antisocial behaviors are drawn to video games. Video games do not actually cause these behaviors. A study evaluated in 2007 by PubLmed.gov stated, in general, boys were most attracted to violent video games. Boys that scored higher in trait aggressiveness and lower in empathy were especially attracted to violent games, and spent more time playing video games than boys with lower in trait aggressiveness. The same article suggested the possibility of a violent cycle. However, there is no reliable evidence to prove or debunk that theory at this present time. Of course, the main thing that quote-unquote journalists focus on are young children becoming so addicted to video games that they don't go to school. These news programs preach the message that video games could destroy your child's life if you let them play too much. However, most of the individual scenarios journalists present as evidence the child in question had been ignored by their family in a traumatic time of their life, so they played video games as an emotional coping. The child only became so obsessive over video games as they had nowhere else to turn to for emotional comfort, and in most cases the elders in the family are to blame for not making sure the young child was okay. Now, the question is, how do we prevent gaming addiction from ever forming in young children? There are plenty of small changes families and the game industry can make to greatly decrease the chance of extreme addiction forming over time. The first is for families, and more importantly parents, to pay closer attention on what their kids are doing and how long they are doing it for. Not to say parents should restrict what their children can and cannot do, but to monitor and help manage their time. The second is for game developers to greatly restrict or outright stop the implementation of gambling and in-game shops that require real money. Many game developers are implementing real money purchases as a way to make quick cash, and many kids either feel that they need to buy something to be good at the game or spend too much as they have not yet the value of money. The last idea is for more game developers to put in-game warnings and recommendations to assist with time management. A good example of this practice is Nintendo. While playing games on their most recent console, the Nintendo Switch, the console will give warnings that you have been playing for a while and should take a short break. The Nintendo Switch also has a phone app for parents or caregivers that allow them to set restrictions and a countdown to the Switch turning off automatically, as well as monitor what games and how long their child is playing them for. So, While the mainstream media does over-exaggerate the damage video games can cause, a form of gaming addiction does exist. And if parents and game developers would start to place in preventative measures to stop kids developing bad habits, gaming addiction in children would drop drastically.